So let's look at education and communication. I'm big on this, as you already know. So first things first, a RACI matrix. If you're not familiar with a RACI matrix, it's broken down. It's an acronym, basically. It's broken down by 4 key components. The first of all is who is responsible. Which stakeholders are responsible for performing specific tasks and actions within your hardware lifecycle management process? Who is accountable for ensuring that task is completed correctly? This is typically the IT asset type owners or ITAM if you own all of the assets. Who's consulted when you're making decisions or doing a task or a process? This could be extra advice or an SME giving you advice, extra data sets or extra advice, or a different set of eyes on something that you're working on. Finally, the I is informed. So which stakeholders need to be informed of certain actions that are taken during a task or process? For example, this could be you in IT asset management if you're doing the governance model where an IT asset type owner is making a change, doing a renewal for support, buying a new equipment. You as the ITAM team need to be informed of that or informed of any AIM-DB updates or changes that they're making. So when building out a RACI matrix, it's really important that when you're building this out that you list each step that you're taking. So for example, when you build out your processes, it's really good to number the blocks that you have within your process so that you can build a RACI matrix that goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. This is the action. This is who's responsible. This is who's accountable. This is who's consulted. This is who's informed. We'll do more about RACI matrices in another webinar, but this hopefully gives you an overview. And these are so important when building your ham scope, when building that initial basic implementation of hardware asset management. Like I said, it removes any ambiguity, makes everyone aware of what their responsibilities are, makes everyone aware of what their responsibilities are. Education as well, I'm huge on this as well. So make sure that you're writing blogs for your internal intranet or SharePoint page. Make them fun and engaging, make them relatable. Don't use loads of ITAM terminology because that will make people switch off. But yeah, make them relatable, make them, really interesting, get people to, read them, get it out in a newsletter if you've got a departmental or a wider organization newsletter. Get that message across. Webinars, as I said earlier in this session, make sure that you're almost over communicating, recording those webinars. You can target specific stakeholder and stakeholder groups. You can do it to everyone. You can do an open door policy, whatever the case may be. Make sure you're getting it in there, making sure you do your webinars and also your deep dive sessions. Deep dives, I tend to do more of a personal webinar, typically aimed at set teams, set stakeholders, set groups. So for example, the service desk are primarily focused on end user assets. So I'll tailor a deep dive session around our hardware asset management scope for end user technologies, our processes and how we're implementing ham in that space, just so it keeps them more engaged, makes them more interested, makes it more relatable to their day-to-day jobs and what they're responsible for. And finally, I always encourage one-to-one sessions with your IT asset type owners and your hardware champions, so you can make it even more personable. You can really build that relationship and that trust between you. And just so that, they may have questions that they didn't want to ask in a webinar because they may fear that it's a really easy, obvious question. They don't want to ask it in front of, tens or hundreds of people on a webinar. They'd rather ask you one-to-one. So build those one-to-one sessions as well, so you can build that relationship, make sure they're fully aware of what you're implementing from a ham perspective, and build that relationship up as well. It's really important to get that message out there. This is just kind of a summary here. Make sure that you're really doing anything that you can to get the hardware asset management or ITAM information out there. Make sure that you're detailing everything, you're recording it, you're writing it, whatever the case may be. Over communicate, don't under communicate. Don't assume that everyone's taking the information on board. Don't assume that everyone joined the webinar. Keep pushing that message out. Keep sharing the links for your intranet page. Keep sharing the links for any blogs or videos that you do. Even work with your internal comms teams. If you've got an internal communication team within IT or the wider business, go and speak to them. They're going to have some great ways in which you can reach a wider audience, and how best your organization, gets, a high percentage of participation in those kind of sessions. So I really hope that you found this useful. We've covered a lot of the basics when implementing hardware asset management, from building out your scope, getting people aware of what hardware asset management is and your hardware asset management scope and the life cycle, etc. So yeah, just a little conclusion slide. Again, please feel free to screen grab this. It might give you some good ideas moving forward when you're trying to implement your hardware asset management function, or even if you're actually building your scope. You've already got your core scope defined, but you're actually adding on and building that. You can use a lot of the approaches that we've mentioned today in doing that for different and new IT asset types within your organization. So what's happening next here on the Sam Beast YouTube channel? So we've got a webinar coming up, which is the presentation that I'll be doing at the BCS ITAM event that's happening in London in October. So we've also got a recording of that. That's about how artificial intelligence really can help with your ITAM processes. We've got some webinars around basic ham policies and processes, more kind of building upon this ham webinar series. We're building on that with strategy, lifecycle management. We've got an ITAD, ham technologies and what you should look for, building a hardware refresh plan. We then start to look at even more mature things like ham and green IT and sustainability, and also hardware asset management maturity explained. So that concludes today's webinar. I really hope you found it useful. Thank you for sticking with it if you've made it to the end. Please don't forget to like and subscribe if you want to see more ITAM content. We've got a big back catalogue of hardware, software, FinOps, cloud, ITAM related videos here on the channel. Feel free to go and have a look through those. Otherwise, I hope you found it useful, and we shall see you next time here at the Sam Beast YouTube channel. Happy ITAMing.